So, I spent the last few hours sort of trying to think of something worth saying on the video journal tonight, and completely failing because I still had the things that I mentioned this morning on the mind. So I might as well talk about Doctor Who. Hey, it's kind of a favored subject, and well, I saw the God Complex today, and that means that I've spent the day going through all of the things that I do that are involved with Doctor Who. So that tends to start with going on to the community on LiveJournal and seeing what other people have had to say about the episode so far. Usually that's a somewhat frustrating prospect because most of the time you get about probably 60 to 75% of posts from people who were annoyed, because annoyance is a much stronger emotion than delight. And I tend to pretty much enjoy episodes as they come out. So reading about every single piddly little thing that has annoyed somebody gets nerve-wracking after a while. And yeah, you just don't hear from people who are delighted with the show nearly as often. And then I go on to one of the comedy forum sites. In this case, I Has a TARDIS, which, if you can't tell from the name, is cat macros. But without cats, with the Doctor instead. Yeah, I am that far gone. And then, just to remind myself that I am not the worst person off in terms of geekiness, I go and check out some of the Tumblrs, which tend to be run by people who are sufficiently obsessed to post every time they get a good picture of Matt Smith's hair. And then I feel a little bit better about myself. I actually am currently running I could call it sort of a role-playing Twitter, but the fact is I don't make up what the Doctor does on that particular Twitter. It's called just the Doctor, and it starts basically at the beginning of the show, slightly before the beginning really, and is going straight through from the Doctor's perspective. And I took a couple of years of break during the Sensorites, as I mentioned. And today I worked on the Reign of Terror a little bit, which meant that after watching God Complex, which I liked, by the way, but I get the feeling that today was not really the best day for me to watch it, because my mind was just not in a mode for being creeped out. It was not in a mode for being sad for the Doctor, even. Although the end did kind of make me tear up a little bit. But I know it would have had much greater impact if it hadn't been for the fact that I was still kind of geeking out about, well, what I talked about this morning. Yeah, Space Pirates. Anyway, Reign of Terror was a lot easier to enjoy because there's a certain high-end acting quality that you got in the Hartnell episodes, which you don't get anymore. It's the kind of acting that people do for a radio play. The dialogue is essential, it is rich, and in many ways, the visual portion is unnecessary. So, really, a lot of the Hartnell stories stand up extremely well as reconstructions. They don't even need to be cut down reconstructions. You can usually just listen to them as if they were just intended to be a radio play. When I first listened to The Reign of Terror, I really enjoyed it actually. When I first, saw and listened to The Crusade, I was astonished by it, and of course, Jean Marsh was in it, and that was delightful. I can blather on some more about how awesome the acting was and the writing was back in the Hartnell era, but the fact is, I still like the acting and writing now. It's just made for a different medium. It's much more visually rich than it was back then. So you really have two completely different styles, and each of them has something great to offer. Uh, I kind of probably went off on a tangent there, but that's how it goes when you don't really have a plan for what you're going to be saying. I tried to make one, I really did. And failure is sometimes an option.